The stars were quiet that night. Space looked calm, like it always did, cold, black, endless. But in a hidden station just outside Mars, something broke the silence. A sound, a signal. It was soft at first, like a whisper from far, far away. But it was strange. It didn't follow any pattern. It wasn't a radio echo. It wasn't noise from a broken satellite. It was something new, something alive. The man sitting alone in the cold control room leaned forward. His name was James Carter, a former Navy officer now working for Earth's Deep Space Listening Program. He had been listening to static for 3 years. Nothing ever came through. But now, this sound was making his hands sweat. He turned up the volume, his eyes wide as he stared at the screen. Then the signal repeated, louder, sharper, desperate. It wasn't random. It was a message, an SOS, but not in any Earth language. James hit the emergency alert button. Red lights flashed. The room filled with sirens. Within minutes, top scientists and government agents were flying in from Earth. The message had already been sent to ground control. The signal was repeating every 30 seconds. A long pulse, a short pause, then a burst of strange symbols. Some were radio waves. Some looked like data codes. And deep inside the signal, hidden under layers of noise, there was something else. A voice, not human, was high and shaking, like someone crying through broken glass. No one could understand the words, but the emotion in the voice was clear fear. Terrible fear. The message didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like begging, like something terrible was coming. And whoever sent the signal didn't want to die alone at the United Space Defense HQ in New York. President Eleanor Hayes sat in the war room, surrounded by generals, scientists, and AI analysts. Played the signal over and over. Every expert was giving a different opinion. Some said it was fake. Others said it was a trap. But one woman, a young linguist named Dr. Maya Trent, stood up. She was quiet, but firm. She said the message wasn't fake. She had seen parts of the symbols before buried in deep space math models and old theoretical alien codes. This wasn't just an SOS. It was a plea for mercy. And worse, she believed the message wasn't just about the senders. It was about Earth too. In one decoded section, she found a strange sentence. "They are coming to you next." The room went silent. People leaned in. One general asked, "Who's coming?" Another asked, "How do we know this isn't a scare tactic?" But deep down, everyone felt it. The voice in the signal was real. The terror was real. Whoever sent this wasn't faking it. They were dying. And now, Earth was next on the list. Satellites were turned, scanners were pointed, deep space telescopes searched the sky, and then something strange happened. A massive energy pulse was found near a distant star over 400 light-years away. That same location matched the origin of the signal. But the star system, it wasn't there anymore. It had been destroyed. There's no light, no planets, just dust and darkness. It's like someone had erased it from the galaxy. All that was left was the message. As fear grew across the top levels of power, the world below still had no idea. News of the signal hadn't been made public. Only a few trusted people knew the truth. The president ordered silence for now. Panic had to be avoided, but preparations began. Space Command was placed on high alert. The moon base received new weapons. Orbiting satellites began to shift into defense positions. Something unknown had spoken, and Earth had answered by raising its shield. That night, Maya worked late in her lab. She stared at the signal waveforms, her eyes burning from hours without sleep. She felt something pulling at her mind. There was something hidden in the message, not in the voice, not in the code. Something deeper. She slowed the signal. She stretched the audio wave, then reversed it. Her heart nearly stopped. There was a second voice, faint, almost lost. It didn't beg, it didn't scream, it whispered. Only one line repeated 3 times. "Earth is not what they think. Do not answer." Maya sat frozen. She played the voice again. It wasn't alien. It sounded human. The next morning, she ran into the briefing room and showed her discovery. The room broke into chaos. Some believed her. Some said it was noise, or a trick, but the president listened. She demanded answers. Why would someone send a warning inside a warning? Who was lying? The dying voice in the main signal begged for help. But now, a second voice told Earth to stay quiet. Who was the real victim? The answer came 12 hours later. An object appeared at the edge of the solar system. Too small to be a planet, too big to be space junk. It moved fast, too fast. It wasn't stopping. It was heading toward Earth. It wasn't sending a signal. It was quiet, but its shape long, black with glowing red rings didn't match anything humans had ever seen. A probe, a ship. Earth's military aimed everything at it. But the president gave the order, do not fire. Not yet. The object stopped just outside Earth's orbit. Then it opened, and a message flashed across every screen on the planet. We heard your answer. Now we come. Not for war, not for peace, for truth. The world went still. Children stared. At TVs, families held hands. Soldiers gripped their weapons. Above the clouds, the stars began to blink one by one, as if something was moving behind them, watching, waiting, and Earth had just knocked on the door. The object stayed silent. No heat, no movement, no weapons showed. Yet it hovered above Earth, as if it was thinking or listening. Scientists called it a vessel. A few called it a trap. Media called it the black eye of God. Fear spread. Fast. People filled churches. Others packed bunkers. But the object, whatever it was, did not speak again. It just remained still, like a hunter waiting for its prey to move first. Inside the defense command tower, Maya stared at the strange ship from a giant screen. Every hour, she listened to the original SOS again. She couldn't let it go. Voice, the one hidden under the message that haunted her. A human voice. Inside, an alien cry for help. It made no sense, and something else was bothering her. The main signal had gaps, tiny moments where the wave cut out, as if something had been erased. She knew code, she knew sound. Someone had hidden something inside the message. But who? The ones who sent the SOS? Or someone who didn't want Earth to hear the full truth? 3 ships from Earth moved closer to the object, slowly and without weapons charged. The alien vessel didn't react. Cameras showed its surface, smooth, black like glass, with symbols that looked like moving liquid. Then one symbol lit up. Red spiral with a pulse. It blinked once every 3 seconds, matching the exact rhythm of the SOS message. It was a response. Back on Earth, Maya finally cracked a deeper part of the language, using ancient star mapping patterns. The voice wasn't just saying, help us. It had names, coordinates, memories. The message told the story of a race called the Naru. They lived in a galaxy where light had started to disappear. One by one, their stars went dark. Then the planets began to vanish without war, without warning. Something was eating space itself. Something that hunted fear. The Naru ran. Their signal was sent from the last light in their sky. And now, the survivors had come to Earth. The alien ship slowly opened. Didn't release weapons. It released a message beamed directly into the minds of every major world leader and Maya. Not through sound, not through screens, but through thought. A clear image planted into the brain like a dream. A Naru being. Tall, glowing blue skin, long eyes like galaxies, and a voice that felt like a soft wind. The Naru said one word, mercy. Maya fell to her knees. It wasn't fear. Well, it was sadness. The Naru's emotion filled her millions of years of pain running, watching their stars burn. But hidden in that wave of sorrow, something cold crawled into her thoughts. A shadow, a shape, like something that had followed the Naru. Now it was here too. The president held a secret meeting with the Global Defense Council. Should they trust the Naru, or prepare to destroy their ship? Scientists confirmed the Naru vessel had massive power, possibly enough to crack the moon in half. But the Naru had made no threat. Still, one thing was clear. They were not alone. Sensors picked up another signal. This time from behind the moon, a second ship. Not Naru, and not human. It had been there before the Naru ship arrived. The questions. exploded. Who was in the second ship? Was it watching Earth? Was it here because of the SOS? Had Earth already been marked? Long before any signal was received, Maya was called back to the war room. This time, she wasn't shown data. She was shown a message intercepted from the second ship. The language was unknown, but its form was not like the Naru. It was harsh. Sharp, mathematical, like something artificial. Not alive, not emotional. It had one repeating command. Earth, remain silent. They hear fear. Panic spread through the council. What did that mean? Were the Naru dangerous? Or were they being followed by something that fed on fear itself? And now that Earth had answered the Naru, had it already made a deadly mistake? For the first time in human history, the question was not, are we alone? The question was, who else is listening? Later that night, Maya received a private message. An old friend, a hacker from her university days, had cracked a code from deep inside the satellite data. It showed that the SOS had reached Earth not once, but twice the first time, months ago. But that signal was caught by a secret black ops. Labin never reported. The lab had gone dark. No one who worked there could be found now. Maya's heart sank. The first SOS had been covered up. Earth had more time than it thought, and worse. It had already started to respond, before the president even knew. She rushed to tell the president, but halfway to the tower, the sky flashed. Above the world, the stars began to twist. A line of light, like a scar in space tour, opened near Jupiter. A third object began to come through. Not a ship, not a probe. Something alive. Huge, with eyes that burned like small suns. It had no mouth. But inside every human mind it spoke one word: fear, and Earth understood. The real message of the SOS was never about help. It was a warning. The sky over Earth had never looked like this before. Telescopes across the world captured the rift near Jupiter. It wasn't a portal in the way science fiction described it, no swirling blue light or smooth edges. It looked like a jagged tear. In space itself, glowing red at the edges, pulsing like an open wound in the galaxy, something massive was coming through. No one could say how big it was. There were no clear lines. It shimmered like smoke and starlight. But one thing was sure: it wasn't a ship. It was alive. It moved like a predator, slow and certain, with a silence that was louder than any roar. In New York, President Hayes watched from the top of the defense tower. Every nation on Earth was awake. Fear had spread faster than any signal. But still, the strange Naru ship floated calmly near Earth's orbit. The Naru hadn't reacted. They hadn't moved. They hadn't spoken since the first mental message. Some believed they were stunned. Others feared they were guiding the creature in. But Maya didn't think so. She sat in a dark lab with only the signal in her thoughts. The more she studied it, the more she realized something: this wasn't the first time this thing had come. It had no name in the Naru's code, but it had a shape drawn again and again in their language, a black spiral with mouths that fed on thought. The Naru called it simply the Void Eater. This was the thing that chased them. This was what destroyed their stars. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't evil in the human sense. It just was. A force that found planets full of life, full of emotion, and drained them like dry wells. And Earth had answered the Naru's cry just like they wanted. But in doing so, Earth lit a beacon across the stars. The Void Eater had seen the light, and now it was here. Back in orbit, the Naru ship began to glow. Its red spiral symbol changed color, now blue, calm but pulsing faster. Then something unexpected happened. The Naru sent another signal, not to Earth's governments, not to military satellites. They sent it directly into the minds of the people. Every person on Earth saw the same vision: a world being torn apart, oceans boiling, suns dying, and above it all, a black shape with stars trapped in its skin. A voice echoed through the memory. Not angry, not loud, just cold, you answered. So now, you are part of the silence. People screamed, some fainted, others cried without knowing why. The image faded, but the feeling stayed. The Naru had not come for war. They had come to pass the warning, to share the truth. But now it was too late. The Eater had followed them across galaxies, and Earth was its next feast. The president ordered a full red alert. Every space station was armed. Nuclear codes were unlocked. The moon base sent out unmanned drones toward the rift. The object, if it could even be called, that didn't react, but its presence could now be measured. Gravity around Jupiter began to shift. The planet's clouds started spinning faster. Earth's tides became unstable. The creature wasn't attacking. It was just existing, and its existence was breaking everything. Maya was taken to a secret chamber deep under the Pentagon where the first hidden SOS had been decoded months ago. Inside, she found a wall filled with sketches, drawings of the same spiral, made by scientists, engineers, and even a 6-year-old child from a town where the signal had leaked by mistake. All the drawings were the same. A black spiral with a core that looked like an eye. That's when Maya realized something terrifying. This creature didn't just follow signals. It fed on memory. It could echo its image into the minds of those who had never seen it. Once you knew of it, it knew of you. Awareness was its invitation. By seeing it, by fearing it, by remembering it, you became part of its path. And now over 8 billion humans knew it existed. Earth had not just seen it. Earth had called it. The Naru ship finally moved. It turned slowly, pointing toward the rift. It released a thin beam of golden light into space. A shield. A signal. Number. One knew. But the Naru were clearly preparing for something. One of Earth's orbiting probes captured a strange visual. The Naru vessel was shedding pieces of itself. Small orbs, glowing, drifting toward Earth like seeds. They landed in oceans, deserts, forests. The military was alarmed. The president ordered no strike seat. But Maya suspected the truth. The Naru weren't attacking. They were planting something. Maybe not weapons. Maybe warnings. Maybe memories. Then the rift pulsed again, and the creature's true shape started. To form, it didn't have a mouth, but sound came from it, a deep, slow hum that vibrated through planets. Earth's animals howled, machines failed, human thoughts became cloudy. Radios played nonsense. Clocks skipped time. The creature wasn't speaking, but it was changing reality. The message was clear. The Void Eater had arrived, and it was hungry. The world had stopped sleeping. All screens across Earth showed the same thing. Now the sky above Jupiter, torn open like a burning scar. The creature had not fully stepped into the solar system, but its shadow already touched Earth. Tides rose. Higher, storms grew stronger. Birds flew in circles, confused. Children began to draw spirals in their sleep. Something invisible was pressing on the planet like a giant hand squeezing the air. The creature hadn't attacked, but it hadn't needed to. Its very presence was enough to break the rules of nature. Inside the Global Defense Command, 25 of the most powerful leaders on Earth sat in a high-security chamber known as the Core. Generals, presidents, and prime ministers from across the world had come together for one purpose: decide Earth's answer. Should the planet prepare for war, or try to talk? Should they trust the Naru, or silence them before more danger arrived? The room was full of voices, arguments, fear. The creature was real. It was coming. The Naru were either Earth's last chance or its first mistake. President Eleanor Hayes sat at the center of the table. Her face looked calm, but her hands were tight in her lap. She had seen the Naru's message. She had felt the echo of the creature in her mind. But no matter how strange it all felt, she had one job to protect Earth. A general from East Command slammed his fist on the table. He said the Naru should be destroyed. Their ship could be a beacon guiding the monster in. Another leader from the European sphere disagreed. He believed the Naru had come here to help, but neither of them had proof. All they had were signals and fear. Then Maya was brought into the room. She stood in front of the leaders, holding a small tablet. Her voice didn't shake. She had spent the last 24 hours decoding the Naru's memory beams. Inside their ship was a recorded history of their journey across galaxies and what they had seen. It wasn't just a story, it was a map. And on that map were dot civilizations like Earth. Each one had answered the same. And each one was now gone, burned, swallowed, erased. But Maya showed something else. In one of the Naru's final records, a strange line of code appeared. Pattern 7A, Earth origin confirmed. That changed everything. The room fell quiet. A scientist leaned forward. "What does that mean?" he asked. Maya didn't know at first, but she had found a matching frequency. The spiral symbol used by the Naru had once appeared in an ancient Earth probe sent into deep space 200 years ago. Forgotten AI satellite, long assumed lost, had somehow carried part of Earth's early code into the stars, and that probe, this may have been the thing that first woke the creature Earth hadn't just received the signal. It may have caused it. The debate exploded again. Was Earth to blame? Had human technology led the Void Eater here? Had the Naru followed the signal home, hoping this planet could do what theirs couldn't? Now there were no simple answers. The line between victim and cause had been blurred, but time was running out. Outside the council room, the moon base sent back a terrifying update. A new shape had appeared near the creature. It's not a second beast, but a broken world. A piece of a planet, crushed and spinning slowly like a dead heart. On its surface were cities burned out, silent, frozen in time. Survivors of the Naru. The last home of some other race that had once tried to fight back. The president stood slowly. Her voice cut through the arguing like a blade. She said, Earth had only two choices: fire now and risk everything, or send a clear message of defiance. Not of fear, not of surrender, but of awareness. She turned to Maya and asked one question. Can you make Earth's voice louder than the Naru's? Maya nodded. It was risky, but possible. A global signal broadcast not through machines, but through thought, using the same method the Naru had used. It would require Earth's AI networks, human minds in deep focus. In the pulse data from the original SOS, the goal was not to hide and not to beg. It was to say, we are not afraid. The vote was cast. 12 wanted war. 13 chose the signal. And so, Earth's choice was made. Not with missiles, but with a message despaired. The Naru ship began to glow again. It had heard the vote. Maya stood near a new thought transmitter built in the Antarctic tower. The machine hummed. All around the world, people were asked to focus, to think, not in fear, but in strength, to hold on to what made Earth's human music, hope, memory, fire. Then the transmission began. It wasn't words, it was emotion. A blast of light spread across the sky. For a moment, the stars stopped shaking, and for the first time, the creature hesitated, its body shifted, its mouth of fire closed, and then sent something back. Not a voice, a vision, a city on Earth, burning, a future that hadn't happened yet, and a message carved into the sky. You speak well, Earth, but you speak too late. The stars had returned to silence, but it was the wrong kind of silence, thick, heavy, like a held breath before something terrible. The Void Eater had not moved closer, yet the Earth felt colder. The message it left behind haunted every corner of the planet. You speak too late. The people of Earth didn't sleep that night. Lights stayed on in homes and bunkers, and families whispered to each other, wondering if the end was now just a few hours away. In orbit, the Naru ship no longer glowed. It had gone still again, watching from above. Governments wanted answers. Scientists demanded more data. But the Naru remained silent. Even Maya, who had once felt their emotions like a wave through her mind, now heard nothing. It was as if they had turned their thoughts inward, hiding, waiting. But something new was happening, something the world didn't see, hidden behind the moon. Deep in Earth's shadow, another ship was there. It had been quiet for days. It sent no signal, It didn't respond to Earth's probes or scans. It just floated in the dark, completely still. Maya had learned about this vessel back in Part 2, when she found the strange warning in the second voice. Do not answer. Now, she wondered, was this the ship that sent that voice? Then why was it hiding? A secret team of scientists and soldiers was sent to investigate. Using a stealth drone, they moved slowly behind the moon. The drone's cameras caught. It's something massive, black, with angles that hurt to look at. The ship didn't look alien in the same way the Naru did. It looked wrong, like it wasn't made of metal, but something older, something forgotten. Its surface reflected no light, and its form kept changing, as if it was both there and not there. Inside the drone's data feed, one symbol flashed again and again, triangle inside a spiral. Maya was called to decode it. After hours of study, she found a single phrase hiding in the pattern. Earth is a memory. The past is listening. She stared at the screen in silence. Could Earth itself be part of some ancient cycle? Could the Void Eater have been here before? While questions grew, new fear spread across the council. A strange energy signal was building near Earth's orbit. Something powerful was charging behind the moon. It wasn't the Naru. It wasn't the creature. It was the silent ship. The council called it the Shadow Vessel. The president asked Maya what to do. She didn't answer right away. She had found another part of the Naru message, something she hadn't shared with anyone. It was deep, encoded, and hidden under static. But now it made sense. It was a warning about Earth itself. The Naru had once studied Earth's skies from far away. They had seen signals leaving Earth long ago, music, radio waves, and even the first human probe Voyager. But in those transmissions, the Naru had found something unusual. Something no other world had sent before. A pattern. The same black spiral. Long. Before Earth had ever heard the SOS, the truth hit. Maya hard. The spiral didn't come from the Naru. It came from Earth, or something near it that meant the signal Earth received. Might not have been the first. It might have been an echo. A return. A reflection of something Earth had once forgotten. In the war room, panic started to rise. The shadow vessel was now active. Its energy field was pulling matter from nearby. Rocks. It wasn't attacking, but it was preparing. The council considered launching a missile. But Maya begged them to wait. She believed that the Naru and the shadow vessel were not enemies, but parts of the same puzzle. The Void Eater was still near Jupiter. It hadn't moved. But Maya saw something chilling in its gravity field. The stars behind it were bending not just from its mass, but from something else. Time. The creature wasn't just feeding on life, it was feeding on time itself. Planets weren't just being destroyed, they were being erased like they had never existed. And the Naru, they hadn't escaped. They had been spared, sent here. Why? To warn? Or to witness? That night, Maya returned to her lab. The drones had sent new data from the shadow vessel. This time, the signal wasn't in math or code. It was in sound. A voice, human, male, American accent, faint, old, broken. We opened it. We thought it was just energy. But it remembered us, the voice repeated. It's not from the stars. It's from the space between. It came home. Maya's skin went cold. The voice was not from an alien. It was from an Earth scientist long lost. A man from the Voyager era. The shadow vessel wasn't alien. It was ours. A forgotten experiment. A secret ship built to explore deep space and maybe something else. It had returned, changed, silent, carrying something ancient, something watching. Council demanded answers. Maya gave them a truth no one wanted. Earth may not be the target. Earth may be the key. The door. In that moment, alarms screamed. The Void Eater had moved. It was coming. And behind it, in its shadow, were stars blinking out like candles in the wind. And now, Earth stood between light and darkness, and something was knocking from inside. The world had never been this quiet. No planes flew, no ships moved across oceans, traffic in cities stopped, schools closed, power grids dimmed. It was as if the whole planet had taken a breath and didn't know how to let it out. The Void Eater had changed, no longer hovered like a cloud above Jupiter. It had stretched. Long arms of darkness curled across the stars, blocking constellations, hiding moons. It looked like a god of night pulling itself forward. One shadow at a time, Earth had ours, maybe less. The Global Council stood on edge. The military wanted to strike the shadow vessel. Others wanted to send a message again. But President Hayes knew something had shifted. This was no longer a problem of diplomacy. It was survival. Still, there was something deeper happening, something Maya kept warning about. She had spent the last 12 hours inside the Deep Core AI network, studying patterns in the Naru memories, the creature's movements, and the voice from the shadow vessel. What she found didn't just scare her, made her question everything. Earth had not just been found, Earth had been remembered. Something about the planet, its people, its past, its signal had brought the Void Eater here. And not for conquest. Not even for destruction. For consumption. Not of bodies, but of fear. The more fear Earth felt, the stronger the creature grew. The darker it became. It wasn't hunting life. It was feeding on emotion. Earth had already given it a feast, but Maya had one last idea. She stood before the council, her eyes wide, her voice firm. "We've been answering wrong," she said. "Keep sending fear warnings, threats, panic. That's what it wants. That's how it finds us. But if we change the message, if we send something stronger than fear, it might stop. Or at least see us as different." The room was silent. A general asked, "What do you want to send?" "Hope." Maya nodded. "Hope. Defiance. Memory. A voice that says, we are not afraid." They had no weapon strong enough to fight the Void Eater. But maybe, just maybe, Earth's greatest weapon wasn't physical at all. It was will. And so, they began. Across the globe, Earth satellites turned toward space. AI systems linked with human minds. Maya wrote the message, word by word, with help from musicians, poets, and linguists from across the world. It wasn't a sentence. It was a feeling. A pulse of memory, families laughing, children playing, oceans moving, hearts beating, people loving. Images were chosen carefully, not of power, not of fear, but of life. Real life. Imperfect. Fragile. Beautiful. The message began to form. A wave of human thought, launched into space as one final cry, not for help, but for recognition, and Earth sent it, not in words, in light. A ripple burst from the moon base and spread across the stars. Signal moved faster than any before. It carried the sound of Earth's voice, not a scream, but a song. The Void Eater stopped. Its tendrils paused mid-motion. Then it pulsed. One flash. Then two. The sky changed, and something stepped through, not the creature. A second rift, behind the first, opened. From it came a structure. A ring, huge, ancient, and gold. It floated silently, humming with soft energy. The Naru ship reacted immediately. Its color turned white. Its spiral symbols stretched wide, almost like joy. Maya understood this wasn't a weapon. It was a gate, and the signal Earth had just sent had opened it. A voice came from the Naru, for the first time in words. You remembered, so they came. Earth's message had been received not just by the Void Eater, but by something else, a third presence. Something older than even the Naru. Something watching from beyond. The ring spoke in pure light. 3 words echoed across the earth. Do not kneel. The Void Eater screamed. Not in sound, but in space itself. It twisted in rage. Its body cracked like glass across stars. It had been fed for centuries on silence and fear. But now, Earth had done something no world had done before. It had refused to be afraid. The ring lit up. A beam shot toward the creature, not to destroy it, but to push it back. And it worked. The creature began to fade, slowly, not killed. Broken, but moved. Uninvited. Pushed out of time. into the dark corners where it had always lived. For now, Earth had not won, but Earth had survived, and that was enough. The skies over Earth lit up like never before. For a moment it was beautiful. The stars seemed to shimmer. The golden ring spun slowly near the edge of space, glowing brighter than the moon. The Naru ship floated beside it, alive again, its spiral shining silver and calm. All over the planet, people watched in silence. Some cried, some fell to their knees. Others stood and simply stared. The great creature, the Void Eater, was gone, pushed back. The darkness had folded in on itself and vanished into the same scar it had come from. But deep inside the silence, Maya felt something strange. She was standing in the main tower, surrounded by screens showing space, energy levels, and the feed from Earth satellites. At first, the numbers looked calm, but then something changed. The light from the ring wasn't fading. It was growing. It was reaching out. Not toward the creature, but toward Earth. A second signal appeared. This one came not from the Naru, not from the creature. It came from the ring itself. A voice smooth, steady, without accent, code across every frequency. Earth has passed. The door is open. The world didn't know how to react. The president demanded answers. What door? Past what? But Maya understood. This was never just about the creature. Earth had been part of a test one that began long ago, when a single human probe was launched into deep space with a golden record, carrying Earth's songs, languages, and dreams. That signal had reached something ancient, something watching, and now Earth had spoken again. This time not with pride or fear, but with truth. And the watchers had answered. But not all responses bring peace. Suddenly, all over the world, strange things began to happen. In Iceland, the sky turned green and purple at noon. In Kenya, shadows moved in the wrong direction. In Japan, birds began to sing in perfect rhythm, a pattern, a pulse, countdown. Maya stood frozen as the sky above her cracked, not literally, but through the sensors. The stars had moved. Not a little, a lot, something had shifted in space. The pattern of the galaxy had changed. Not just one system. The entire star map Earth had always known was wrong. She looked at the Naru ship and saw fear again in its light. The spiral had turned dark blue. It hovered close to Earth, almost like it wanted to protect it, but cold. The golden ring sent one last pulse, and then something stepped. Through it wasn't the Void Eater. It wasn't a creature. It was a world. An entire planet appeared slowly, silently, like it had always been there. But it wasn't in any star chart. It floated just beyond the moon, dark and shining, with strange lights glowing across its surface. No one could say how it got there. No one could say why. It didn't orbit. It didn't drift. Just hovered, and then the sky itself began to break. One by one, Earth's satellites started to fail, not because of attack, but because space was changing. Gravity wasn't working the same. Time signals lost sync. GPS stopped. Astronomers screamed, "The stars are folding in." Back in the war room, chaos returned. Generals wanted to fire on the strange planet. Scientists begged them not to. Maya stared at the sky, remembering what the voice had said. Earth has passed. The door is open. This planet wasn't a threat, it was an invitation. Or maybe a test. The Naru sent one final message to Earth. Their voice was weak now, distant, as if the energy that held them here was fading. They said, "Your sky is no longer yours. You have spoken truth. You must walk it." Then their ship vanished, gone in a single flash of soft white light. No sound, no explosion, just absence. The golden ring followed. Now only Earth remained, in the strange planet and the broken stars. People panicked. Governments struggled to explain what was happening. All telescopes pointed toward the new world, trying to scan its surface. All they could see were tower stall black, ancient, silent. Then a final message came. Just one sentence. Not from the Naru. Not from the ring. Not from the creature. From Earth's own system. From a satellite that hadn't worked in 50 years. The message blinked on every screen. You passed the first question. Are you ready for the next? The skies rumbled. Not from thunder, but from something larger, waking up. Beyond the edge of what humans could ever understand. The world had gone quiet again, but not out of fear this time. It was the silence of realization, of something too big to fight, too strange to name. The new planet above Earth didn't speak, didn't move. It floated in the darkness like a second moon, except it wasn't made of rock or dust. It was smooth, dark, with glowing towers that pulsed like veins. Telescopes showed no life, no machines, no signals. But Maya knew it was not empty. It was waiting down on Earth. People stared. At the sky, confused and afraid, but also curious. The wars had stopped. The hate had quieted. For the first time in history, humanity was united not by choice, but by something far beyond politics or borders. Something had asked them a question. Something ancient. Something watching. And somehow, Earth had answered. Inside the defense. Tower Maya stood before a room full of leaders, scientists, and military officers. They were no longer arguing. They were listening. She told them what she had learned. The Naru were not the first to run from the dark. They were only the last before Earth. Every few thousand years, the Watchers, whoever they were, was a world not to test its strength, but to test its voice. How it thought, how it felt, how it reacted when faced with the unknown. The creature, the Void Eater, was never the test. It was the mirror. What Earth gave it, it gave back. If a world answered in fear, it was devoured. But if it stood in truth, it was offered a choice. That choice had arrived. The planet above wasn't here to invade. It was here to open something. The golden ring had vanished, but not completely. Maya had picked up echoes in the background frequencies that didn't match any known energy. It was as if the ring had become part of Earth's sky, invisible but watching. And inside the new planet, something had begun to move. The towers turned slowly, like gears. A light pulsed at their center. Not bright, not blinding, but steady. Soft. Then came the final signal. Not from space, not from machines, but from dreams. All. Across Earth, people began to see the same thing in their sleep. A staircase of light leading into the sky. A door that opened to a place that had no stars, no planets, only voices. Millions of them, speaking different languages, but saying the same thing. There is more. Maya saw it too. She stood at the edge of the dream, watching as a figure walked through the door. Not a god, not an alien, just a person, like her. Human, curious, brave. When she woke, she knew what had to happen. Back at the tower, she gave one final speech. Not just to the council, but to the world. Broadcast live. She said Earth had faced its greatest fear not with weapons, but with a message, truth. And now it had been invited to take the next step. Not all would understand. Not all would follow. But someone had to. Earth must send an answer again. Not as a warning, but as a volunteer. And so, the mission was prepared. Not a warship, not a probe, a vessel of thought. It's built with Earth's finest AI, its best minds, and its oldest memories. The same kind of ship the Naru once launched, but stronger. Wiser. Maya didn't ask to lead it, but the world chose her. On the day of launch, she looked at the sky one last time. The planet still waited. The towers still pulsed, and Earth still breathed. As the ship rose, people below stood in silence, not crying, not cheering, just watching. The way one might watch a child take their first steps toward something far beyond the safety of home. Up in orbit, as Maya's ship crossed the edge of Earth's light, second signal reached her mind. Not words, a feeling, warmth, pride, and something. Older than any language. Well done. The towers opened, the ship passed through, and then Earth was alone again, but not afraid. Because somewhere in the stars, a new voice had joined the chorus. Not a cry for help, not a scream of fear, but a message that would echo through the galaxy. We are still here. And in the darkness, something brighter than stars.